Hey there, parents. How's it going? Welcome back to week number 3, chapter 2 of Your Teenager Isn't Crazy, even though you may think that, and maybe sometimes you've gone crazy. But wanted just to jump in here, and I love in these chapters, really quick reads. Hopefully you've got the book, you're able to go through it. If not, that's what these videos are for, and this time together that you guys can discuss and continue just to grow in your parenting. But chapter 2 really talks about just leaving me alone, and your child may say that, but I like how it jumps in the middle of the book, actually, in the chapter, excuse me. It talks about how the different terms out there, and the first question on your sheet today really looks at what terms have you heard for parents. And there seems to be a trend in parenting the last, I'd say 20, 30 years, where parents seem to be more involved. And so there's been fun terms like helicopter parent, or one of my favorite ones like lawnmower parent. And the thought is that you know, the lawnmower parent, like you mow everything down for your kids and you make it easy. And so then there's never any adversary. They never have to overcome anything. They never have to learn skills. And the chapter also talks about how college professors and other people will note, those of you who have worked with 20-somethings in the workplace, a lot of times they really struggle with some of the soft skills that are learned in life. Even simple things like please and thank you, follow through, sending an email to communicate like, hey, I didn't get this done, or I did get this done, or I messed this up, or that kind of thing. I remember hearing a story years ago of a guy who was a mechanic at a car wash, and one of the younger, I think they call them porters, maybe is the term, where they just drive cars around the lot, or they do different things to move cars in and out and different things when they're fixing them. And one of them took the car to get washed in the car wash, and had the sunroof open for some reason. And when it went through the car wash, it like sprayed into the car and everything. And I think it was like a $50,000 Suburban or something, or whatever it was. And the person just like parked the car, didn't tell anybody, just walked and like quit immediately with the job, which and so this mechanic was talking about how it's just very frustrating to like have to deal with that, and a customer was waiting on the car, and then have to tell the customer, and just all that kind of stuff. And so this chapter is really about how do you give, and I think manage the tension, because I don't think you solve this tension, but you manage the tension of giving your child space. And how do you give your child an opportunity to fail? I like at the beginning of the chapter where it says, usually we don't hear parents say, I'm afraid to let go of control that I once had over my life. And maybe that's something you guys want to talk about this morning or today, whenever you watch this video, is how you are starting to transition to having your children be independent, living on their own, having their own house and insurance and car payments and off your cell phone bill and all that kind of stuff in time. But how can you maybe let go of control, but more importantly, talk through the challenge of letting go of control? Because a lot of times it's easier to do it yourself. A lot of times it can save time, effort, and energy. But if your child doesn't learn to do things, it's hard for them to go off and do things, if that makes sense. I personally am an advocate, if at all possible, and I realize not every student is designed for college, and not every student is able to go away, and for different reasons. But if a child is able to move away, to go to college and not be back every weekend or once a month or something, I really encourage kids to grow up, go away to college, handle your own laundry, handle your own finances. Maybe parents are there to help and assist, with phone conversations, and this would be a wise decision, this wouldn't be a wise decision. But I'm really a big advocate of that, and I think that's important as you kind of let your children be released and grow up and mature. I think the chapter also really talks about, I think, you to really evaluate as a parent, how much are you looking to control? And a lot of this can be your personality. Each of us is wired differently from God. But are you more of a controlling personality? Or a more like, hey, I'm okay with just letting things go and being relaxed? Each of us fall different on that spectrum. And I think part of that really affects how you parent as a parent. But ultimately, this chapter is about that your teens need room to grow. And a lot of it's trusting them, but a lot of them is really putting your trust in the Lord and saying, God, you know what, I'm going to trust you with this. And it's tough when our children make difficult decisions, but micromanaging your children is not going to be an effective way to parent. And so a lot of it is finding appropriate ways for them to make mistakes and to fail. Also, the book really talks about, the chapter talks about the life skills. And I kind of just mentioned that about the workplace and things like that. But where is your child learning life skills? I think this is so important. Obviously, you can do it through chores. I really encourage kids to shadow other people's jobs. I really encourage you to put your kids in, whether it's maybe a scouting program or coming on like church mission trips, where are they going to experience, to do different things? And sometimes I'm kind of surprised that some of the simple things in life that I think is somewhat simple, some kids don't. Some kids don't ever take out the trash. Some kids don't know how to work a vacuum. Some kids don't know how to use maybe appropriately certain power tools, or different tools. Just even like here's what the difference is between a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver, and here's how you use both to maybe put on a new door handle or something. I don't know what comes to your mind, but there's so many things in life that I think you can't cover everything. But as our kids grow and mature, can they learn how to adult? And I think that's what this chapter is really about, and really encouraging and pushing, is that you give them room to do that. Another discussion piece would be the on 35 through 37, just the different ways to encourage the independence of your child. And I encourage you to go through those and see which one stands out the most to you. Ultimately, I think this is something that we really bathe in prayer as we continue to try to help our children become more independent. I'd encourage you to possibly, if time, share a time where you've maybe allowed your child to maybe figure things out on their own and maybe stumble and fail. But I bet they've learned more about the challenges and hardships than they have through you just kind of mowing everything down, making it easy. I just think back to as a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip reader, someone who really enjoyed that and have some of the books. I just remember Calvin's dad always like having him break leaves and do different things, and he always said it builds character. A great kind of broad, vague question to ask, but I still think it's important for you and maybe you and your spouse to talk about is, where are you building character in your child? The thought that they can function and mature and grow as an adult, that someday they can handle or best handle or be more prepared to handle the challenges that come with living and functioning outside of your house. I also encourage you, a great way to get a check-in on how your kids are doing, talk to maybe your youth leader, talk to your pastor, talk to your kids' teachers, coach, neighbors, other people that interact with your kids on a daily or a frequent basis, and see how they're doing. Because sometimes I've talked to parents where they're super frustrated with their kid at home, and that can be a point of tension. But a lot of times too, they may be somewhere else and they behave. They follow directions. They're eager to help, and maybe sometimes they still make mistakes, but that can be an encouragement as a parent as well. So I just really want to pray a blessing upon your week with your students as you help them become more independent. We will see you here back next week. Thanks.